Breaking news. Welcome to today's headlines. Nnamdi Kanu defeats Buhari. DSS as UN orders his unconditional release and compensation. Nnamdi Kanu defeats Buhari. DSS as UN orders his unconditional release and compensation. To my dear listeners, from wherever you're listening from, please stay tuned as I read today's news. The Nigerian and Kenyan government have been indicted by the UN Human Rights Council Working Group on Arbitrary Detention for the unlawful arrest, extraordinary rendition, torture and ongoing detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. Kanu, who left the country in 2017, was apprehended in Kenya in June of last year and brought to Nigeria, where he is now being held by the Department of State Services, DSS. As a result, the UN requested that Nigerian government immediately release Kanu unconditionally and compensate him appropriately for the willful violation of his fundamental human rights, according to News Direct. It also advocated for an investigation and punishment of the government officers who tortured the IPOB leader. The UN panel further instructed Nigeria to report back on the actions taken to abide by all of its recommendations within 6 months after transmitting its opinions on Kanu's case. For further review, it forwarded the matter of Kanu's torture to the Special Rapporteur on Torture and other forms of cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. The UN Working Group also vowed to take additional measures to ensure that the recommendations be followed, pointing out that both Nigeria and Kenya are convention signatories and ought to do so. The Working Group on Arbitrary Detention adopted a 16-page report on April 4 of its 93rd session, which took place between March 30 and April 8, 2022. The report is dated July 20, 2022. Opinion number 25th, 2022. Concerning Mr. Nwanekai Nnamdi Oku Kanu, Nigeria and Kenya, was written on the original copy of the document that Vanguard saw. The UN Commission on Human Rights Resolution 1991 to 42 constituted the Working Group on Arbitrary Detention. In line with its working procedures, the working group sent a communication regarding Mr. Nwanne Nnamdi Kanu to the government of Kenya and Nigeria on December 30th, 2021. The study states that Kenya government did not respond to the communication until 25th January 2022, when Nigeria did. The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights is a treaty that both nations have ratified. The working group claimed in its report that Kanu was the victim of state persecution since Nigeria had not offered solid justifications for its claims that he had committed treason and other crimes. The UN Working Group statement reads, noting the failure of the government to explain what actions of Mr. Kanu amounted to such criminal acts and how, and observing the lack of any evidence that any of his actions may in fact amount to such crimes. The working group concludes that Mr. Kanu is in fact being persecuted for the peaceful exercise of his right, most notably his freedom of opinion and expression. In the present case, the government of Nigeria has presented no exception permitted under Article 19, 3 of the Covenant nor is there any evidence to suggest that Mr. Kanu's exercise of his right to freedom of opinion and expression was anything but peaceful. To my dear listeners, now we've come to the end of our today's news. Please do drop by the comment section